Okay, everyone. Hi, good morning. I'm Deanna Bruce, and we're gonna take an hour for ourselves. It's going to be a gentle hour, uh, and I woke up this morning in Pittsburgh excited to be here and spend the weekend here. And I also woke up realizing, oh, it is Saturday, and I also want today to be nice and lazy. And so I'm thinking of I just want to lay on my mat this morning, but we're going to still do the work, but we're just going to take it easy. So we'll start here seated and go ahead and close your eyes. And you can place your hands on your thighs, around, maybe wrapped around your knees. You can place them with the palms down for grounding, or you can turn them up and sort of receive what the world is giving you this morning. Either one can benefit you to this morning. We're just going to settle here into this seated position. You may want to like lift up one butt cheek and then the other to get a little, help your back get a little bit taller. You can also place a pillow or a blanket or a block underneath your butt to give yourself a little bit of elevation. And just notice your breath. I don't know, maybe your breath is beginning to slow down. And just watch your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Let's take a few moments to just observe how our body feels different, even after just a minute sitting here on our mat. See if we can release our feet and our legs, release any tension. Certainly, I want your core engaged to support your back, but what else can you release? Your chest. Drop your shoulders down and back. And that's a practice that's nice during our hour together. Anytime you notice your shoulders creeping up towards your ears, just take a moment to drop them down and back. Think about your throat, your mouth, your tongue, your cheeks, your eyes, your forehead. What else can you release? Next, we'll take a moment to connect with our intention, our reason for showing up for ourselves this morning. And I invite you to dedicate your practice to this intention. And if your mind wanders during our practice, you can bring it back to your intention, your reason for being here. Now drop your chin to your chest and open your eyes if they were closed. And then bring your gaze back to neutral. And we'll start with some movement. Bring those arms out and up, palms together, and down to the heart center. And we'll do this several times, following the path of our own breath. And you know how your body likes to move with your breath better than I do. So if you like to breathe in as you go up And down as you come down, or the other way around. Just find what works for your body. And as your arms go up overhead, see if you can lift your gaze up toward the ceiling and then back to center. Do one more. Bring your hands to heart center. And now we're going to stretch the side. So reach your right arm out to the side and drop your hand onto the floor. Send your left arm overhead and begin to move your body, stretch your body over toward that right side. Keep that core engaged. I want you to feel this from your hip all the way to your fingertips, that stretch. We're going to do a couple of modifications here. We're going to see if we can kind of look down. So you sort of twist towards the floor. Come back to where we started. And now twist up toward the ceiling. Open that chest up. And come back to neutral. Give yourself one extra little stretch. And rise all the way up. And we'll take it to the other side. So your left hand, palm down onto the floor. Send that right arm overhead and stretch off to the side. And now twist your body towards the floor. And feel how that stretch changes. And come back to the side. And now let's stretch towards the ceiling. Open that chest up. And come back to center. Give yourself a little extra stretch. And rise all the way up. And so if I share with you my intention for this morning, it is to stretch every single part of my body over the next hour. So let's see if we can achieve that. Yoga is not necessarily a goal, but more of an experience and a process. But if I were to share a goal, it would be to stretch every part of my body today. So now we're going to stretch. We're going to twist to the side. And so let's engage the core because we want to protect your lower back. So what we're really twisting is our middle and upper back. So think about that as you twist. So it's almost as if you're keeping your hips pointing forward as you twist your middle and upper back. Send your left hand to the outside of your right leg and use your right hand as a sort of a kickstand behind you. And just send that twist as far as you want to take it this morning. Send your gaze past your shoulder. And return to center. Untwist your body. And now we'll take that twist to the other side. Again, see if you can keep your hips pointed forward as you twist around to the left. Send that right hand to the outside of your left leg, your left thigh, and use your left hand as a kickstand behind you. Send that gaze off to the left, past your back shoulder. And gently untwist your body and come back to center. Send your right arm up overhead and then bend it behind your back. Grab your other hand, grab your elbow with your other hand and see if you can extend that stretch of your right arm behind your body. And go ahead and untwist, and now we'll do the other arm. Send that left arm up overhead and twist it behind your back. Go ahead and untwist, unwrap your body. And now we're going to come over onto our tabletop. And in tabletop, let's have our hips above our knees and our shoulders above our wrists. Make little L's with your hands. So your index finger and your thumb are sort of making L shapes at each other. And throughout a yoga practice, this is a good strategy to help support your body, is to make this little L shape with both hands and then keep most of your weight when the pressure that you apply in the front with your hands, keep it on those two fingers. It's great for downward facing dog as well. Instead of having your entire hand carry the weight, just try to keep the weight on those two fingers. So we'll do that here for in tabletop, and we'll start with some cat-cows. Again, like before, move with your breath in the way that your breath wants to move. So perhaps you breathe in as you drop your belly, and you breathe out as you round your back. Whatever works for you. Lift your torso, drop your belly, lift your gaze. Tuck your torso, round your back, lower your gaze. And just take that at your own pace for several breaths. And then add some extra movement. Send your right gaze over to your right hip as you scoot your right hip over to the right. And then twist the other direction. Make some circles with your body. Send your weight beyond your wrists. And back around, and let's do the other side. Make a big circle. Send that weight past your wrist. And back around. Come back up to tabletop. And send your right arm, beyond the mat. Lift your right arm off the floor. And send your left foot back. straighten that left foot. I'm going to just rest it here on this bench. Make it easy for myself. And bring your elbow and your knee together and back out. And your elbow and knee together and back out. Your elbow and knee together and back out. And come back to tabletop. We'll start with the other side. Left arm out off the floor. Right foot off the floor. Keep that core engaged. And bring the elbow and knee together. And back out. Elbow and knee together. Back out. Elbow and knee together. And back out. And come back to tabletop. Walk the hands forward, just one pace for the hands. Tuck your toes. We'll come up to downward facing dog. And go ahead and start to pedal those feet out. Drop one heel, then the other, then the other, then the other, and the other. Come up to tippy toes. Bend your knees until your belly starts to touch your thighs. And notice how flat your back is. Perhaps your ears are in between your arms. And then slowly begin to straighten your legs. The goal here is to flatten your back, not necessarily straighten your legs. So you probably will continue to have a bend in your legs, and use those hands, again, that L shape, the thumb and the index finger, to push your body closer to your legs. And then drop back down to tabletop. Walk your hands back in. Push those big toes together and walk yourself down into child's pose. You can leave your arms engaged. And if you keep your arms engaged, use again that L shape to push your butt closer to your heels. So it's like you're pushing your hands away from you almost. Come back up to tabletop. We'll take another downward facing dog. So walk the hands forward, tuck your toes, and send your butt up towards the ceiling. Flatten that back. You can pedal those feet out again. Come up on your tippy toes. Drop your chest, your belly to your thighs. Begin to straighten your legs. Use those two L's to push your torso closer to your legs. And now we're going to take that right leg. So you may need to do a little adjusting. That right hand, and send it to the outside of your left leg for a little bit of a twist. And then bring that right hand back to the floor and do the other side. Bring that left hand to the outside of your right leg for a little twist. And bring that hand back. And come back to tabletop. And do another twist here. Send that right arm out to the side. And then we'll thread the needle in between the body and our left hand. Drop your right shoulder to the ground. And then use that right shoulder to push your chest up. So you're using your right shoulder to almost push your chest up toward the ceiling, to push yourself into a twist. And then send that left arm up overhead. If you want, you can also just keep your left hand in front of your face and use that to kind of push a twist. You can take that left arm and wrap it around the back, your back, and bring it around so it's kind of touching your right thigh, if that makes sense. Again, these are all just options. We're just having fun here. You do something else, send that left foot back onto the ball of your foot. And kind of balancing now. Just having fun. Do whatever works for your body. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So bring it back to where you're actually enjoying what you're doing. You can send that arm up overhead. Take that foot off the ground. Woo! Whoa! Okay. And then let's bring our knee back to the ground. If it's off the ground, hand back on the floor. Untwist your body. Send that right arm back up to untwist yourself. And back to cat-cow. And now let's do the other side. So left arm up overhead. We'll thread the needle. Drop that shoulder, left shoulder onto the floor. And then use that left shoulder to push your torso up toward the ceiling. You can use your hand in front of your face to help do that. You can also send that arm up overhead. Perhaps your right arm is up towards the ceiling. You can even wrap it around your back. Maybe those fingers touch your left thigh. Again, we're just playing with expressions of this posture. So you want to make sure that you find an expression that works for you. I've now stuck my leg out again on my right, onto the ball of my right foot. And now I'm going to do some silly things. Send my right arm up overhead and lift that foot off the ground. Woo! Work that core. And then let's bring the foot down to the floor, place that hand back on the floor and untwist yourself. We'll do another downward facing dog, and then we're going to come into a low lunge just to give you a little sense of what we're doing. So walk the two hands a little bit forward, tuck your toes up to downward facing dog. We'll stay here for a few breaths. You can do whatever you want if you pedal, stretch, whatever. And then bring your right foot in between your two hands, however you can get there. And the back leg is straight, toes are tucked. And you can stay here. You can also begin to lift up into a little bit of a standing position. Send those arms up towards the sky. Bend that knee in the front to make a 90-degree angle. Whoops. And then we come back down. Drop that knee to the floor. Untuck your toes. And we'll do that again. Send those arms up overhead. And from here, bring those palms together. Come down to the heart center. And then twist to your right and place your left knee, elbow outside of your right thigh. And send your gaze backwards towards your right elbow. And then untwist yourself, bring those hands back to the floor. And now drop your hips towards the floor. And then walk your hands forward, lift your front toes off the floor for a runner's stretch. And walk forward again, drop those hips. And walk backwards. And do this one more time. Forward. Let's stay here a little bit longer. See if you can drop those hips even more. And then walk backwards. From here, just bring that foot back, and we'll come back into child's pose. You may want to do a couple cat and cows here. Your back may ask for this. Maybe do a little bit of the wiggling we did before. Maybe some circles. Now we'll come into downward facing dog again. We're going to do the other side. So walk those hands forward, tuck those toes, come into downward facing dog. And we'll stay here for a couple of breaths. Again, focus on those two L's, your weight. And as you use those L's to push your torso closer to your legs. And then bring that left foot in between your two hands. Strong back leg, straighten, toes are tucked. And from here, we're gonna lift up, bring those arms up overhead, so we're sort of in a standing lunge. And come back down. And now drop your knee and untuck your toes. We'll do the same thing now in this sort of modified expression. And come, from arms up overhead, hands, palms together, hands to the heart center. And now twist to the left and place that right elbow on the outside of your left thigh. And send your gaze off to the left, past your left elbow. And untwist yourself, bring those hands back to the floor. Now we're going to drop down into a deeper lunge. Open up those hips. And then walk your hands backwards, lift those toes off the floor for a runner stretch. And then walk yourself forward. And walk backwards to that runner stretch again. We'll do it one more time. Walk forward. Now we'll stay here for a couple more breaths and see if you can drop those hips even further. And then walk those hands back into that runner stretch. And then bring that leg back, and we're back in our tabletop. We're going to do one more downward facing dog. So walk those hands forward a little bit, tuck those toes up to downward facing dog. We'll stay here for a couple of breaths. And then send your right leg up towards the sky. Keep those hips pointed forward. Three-legged dog. And now open your hips. Drop, bend your knee, and start to make circles. Your leg. Now circles in the other direction. Send that leg straight again. And now back to downward facing dog. And we'll do the other side. Left leg up toward the sky, heel, hips closed. And now open the hips, bend your knee, and make a circle, a couple of circles. And now in the other direction. And then send that leg, close those hips and that leg back up. And come back to downward facing dog. We're gonna pivot forward into a plank pose. And bend your elbows as you bring your body down to the floor. Untuck your toes, come up to cobra. Send those hips back, tuck those toes up to downward facing dog. And bring your right knee towards your right elbow. Drop your knee to the floor. So now your right leg from the knee to the foot is on the floor. Drop your back right, back left leg. So your left leg is extended beyond you, toes untucked. And this is our pigeon pose. And you can stay upright here. You can come down onto your elbows, or you can make a little pillow with your hands for your forehead. We'll stay here in pigeon for several breaths. While you're in pigeon, keep your right foot close to your body. Don't try to extend it to tweak your knee. And see if you can keep your hips sort of evenly spaced between the floor so that your right hip doesn't pop up. Bring it back down so that it's about the same distance from the floor as your left hip. Use your hands to push your torso upright. Tuck your toes and bring yourself back into downward facing dog. Go ahead and pedal out your legs if you need to. And then bring your left knee towards your left elbow, and then drop that left leg to the floor. Untuck your back leg and bring that leg down so it's straight behind you. You can stay upright in pigeon. Bring your elbows down to the floor. You can make that pillow with your hand. Use those hands to push your body back up. Tuck that back toes and send yourself back up to downward facing dog. Now send yourself back into a plank. Push your body forward into plank, and then bend your elbows and bring yourself down to the floor. Untuck those toes and come up into cobra. We're gonna come down. Bring your torso back down to the floor. Put yourself in the cobra again. And come back down to the floor. Grab your left leg, your left foot with your left arm, and push you can grab your foot, you can grab your ankle, whatever works for you, and push your left heel into your left butt cheek. Release. And grab your right foot or ankle with your right hand and push your left heel towards your right heel towards your right butt cheek. And go ahead and release. Let's do one more cobra. And send our butt back. Come into downward facing dog. Drop those knees to the floor. Push those toes together, big toes together. Walk your butt into child's pose. And keep your arms engaged, or just drop your elbows to the floor. We'll stay here for several breaths. Use your hands to push your torso up. Come into tabletop and then drop your butt down to the floor. And we are now seated. Send your feet out in front of you, legs extended, slight bend in your knees. And let's flex those feet as much as you can, even bring your heels off the floor if that happens. And then point your toes. Keep your core engaged and your back flat while we do this. Let's go ahead and flex them and point them. Let's make circles outwards and circles inward. And let's see if you use your left foot to sign your name. You can do it script or printed. That's your first name. Now let's use your right foot to spell your last name. I know it's unfair if you have a short first name and long last name. And now we'll just keep that bend in the legs, heels on the floor, core engaged, flat back, arms up overhead, shoulders down and back. And now with a flat back, begin to fold forward. And once your body's like, I can't keep it flat anymore, begin to round it. And then bring your hands in front of you on the floor, on your shins, wrapped around your heels, whatever works for you this morning, this moment of this morning. We'll stay here for several breaths and see if you can just drop into this posture. You release yourself, can you go a little bit deeper into the stretch? And maybe you breathe in, and when you breathe out, you get a little bit deeper. Now send those arms out past your feet, and with a flat back, come back up. Bring those arms down. I'm going to do sort of what we call butterfly or bound ankle. So bring those, press the bottoms of your feet together and pull those ankles towards you. Send both of your knees off to the walls beside you. That will give you that sort of length. Core engaged, shoulders down and back, tall back. Almost you can use, what I like to do, you can almost use this sort of, the way my hands are wrapped around my ankle, it kind of gives me that resistance that keeps my back extended, if that makes sense. And we'll just stay here for a moment. Tall. Keep sending those knees out to the walls beside you. So this is an active pose. It doesn't look active, but it should feel active. I want you to, as you keep that core engaged and that back extended and those knees sort of being pulled to the side, pulled to the walls beside you, you are actively working in this movement, in this posture. And now we're going to get ready, sort of do what you need to do so that you can release your ankles. Send those arms up overhead. Again with a flat back. Forward until you can't. And then round your back, drop your hands to the floor. If you want to, you can bring those hands back to your ankles but you might find more support if you keep your hands out in front of you. And we're going to stay here again. You breathe in, and with an exhalation, can you fold forward even deeper? And we'll just stay here for several breaths. And slowly walk your hands towards your body to lift your torso. And then we'll begin to lay backwards. But before we do, let's try a little bit of a boat pose. So wrap your hands behind your legs, sort of around your hamstrings. And we're going to use this sort of resistance like we did when we were sitting up. And then bring those feet off the floor. So you're using your arms to balance as they wrap around your legs. And you've got your legs extended off the floor. Now let's see, core engaged, strong back. Release your right hand. So it's just here along the side of your right leg. And now let's see if we can do the same on the left side. And now if you want to get really wild, see if you can straighten those legs. And then bend your legs, and we're going to bring your feet to the floor, and we're going to slowly roll ourselves down to the floor. Bend your knees and bring your feet onto the floor just beyond your butt. Maybe your if you can, your fingertips are kind of touching your heels. We're going to do some bridge pose work here. And in a gentle class, I like to build our way up to bridge. So over sort of 5 different breaths, I'm going to have you sort of breathe in and lift your hips just barely off the floor, and breathe out. Breathe in and bring those hips slightly more off the floor. And back down. Breathe in a little bit more off the floor. Back down. And every time you do this, keep those knees pointed forward like they're flashlights on them, and you can see the beam straight ahead of you, not off to the side. And let's breathe in and come a little bit higher off the floor. And roll back down. And now with our next breath, we'll go all the way into our full expression of the bridge pose, and we'll stay here for several breaths. So breathe in all the way up. You can stay like this, press your palms flat on the floor, or you can sort of lift that shoulder, one shoulder at a time, so they're kind of behind your shoulders. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. And then clasp your hands behind your back, palms pressed together, and send your hips up toward the ceiling. And go ahead and unhook your hands and roll your body back down to the floor. Lift your right foot off the floor. We're going to do sort of cross your ankle over on top of your left thigh. Lift your left foot off the floor and start to bring that right leg towards you. Keep your right knee pushing away from your torso, and keep your right foot flexed to help protect and stabilize that right knee. Send both arms In front of you, I'm going to clasp those hands behind that left hamstring for this figure 4 posture. And then use those hands to pull your left leg towards you as you use your right elbow to push your right knee away from you. It's a nice way to stretch that sort of IT band that you're feeling over on the right side of your right leg. And then cross that knee all the way over. So now your knees are on top of each other. Your right knee is on top of your left knee. Grab both shins or ankles and pull them toward you for a slightly different expression of that stretch. And then go ahead and untwist, and we're going to do the other side. So your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Send those hands behind your right hamstring. Use your hands to pull your right leg towards you as you use your left elbow to push your left knee away from you. Keep that left foot flexed to support and stabilize your knee. We'll stay here for several breaths. It's again an active posture. Even though you appear still, you know that you are doing a lot of work to maintain a full expression of this posture. And now fully cross that left knee over your right knee. Hold on to your shins or your ankles and pull them both toward you. And unwind it all. Bring those knees close to your chest. Wrap those hands around your shins and pull those knees close to you. Your thighs can touch your torso. And then send your arms out, extended, sort of in a T shape or in a goalpost. And then send those both legs over to the left onto the floor. Your left leg should be on the floor. And we'll just stay here for several breaths. Arms extended. Send your gaze off to the right. Come back to center and send those legs off to the other side. And your gaze off to the left. Come back to center. Take any other movements that you want. maybe happy baby, rock back forward before coming into corpse pose for Shavasana. Extend your feet so that your heels are on the edges of your mat. Arms just laid out next to you, palms facing upward. You can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. We'll stay here, connect back in with your breath. Take a few moments to notice your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Notice as it fills your cavity, your chest cavity, fills your lungs. Breathe in and breathe out. And then imagine where the breath goes as it moves beyond your lungs. Imagine it sort of passing the walls of your lungs and spreading down your legs and out your arms. We'll just take a few moments. Keep your mind focused on your mat, your mind focused on your breath, and we'll stay here for a moment. You can find some movement in your body again. When you're ready, bring those knees into your chest. Roll over onto your side. Connect back into that intention, that reason for showing up today. Some gratitude for yourself showing up. Use your hands to push yourself up into a seated position. Bring those hands to the heart center. And say one more piece of gratitude to yourself. I'm grateful for each of you showing up today, joining me in this practice, this community, our monthly time together. Thank you so much. And thank each little screen that you see for being here.